As someone who has been posting about their love of reading on the internet for many, many years, it brings me so much joy to see people continue to share their love of reading and recommend books on the internet. I think it's one of the greatest uses of the internet. I know that there are so many pros and cons to the internet in general and all of that, but I want to stay positive for this video, and I want to talk about some books, 5 books in particular, that I think deserve to be trending like the other books. I see so many of the same books trending on TikTok, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I'm so glad that people are reading, especially people that haven't considered themselves readers, that are discovering a passion for reading. I think that that's all incredibly wonderful. But the 5 books that I have here, I really think deserve to be read by a much wider audience. I tried picking 5 very different books, so I hope that there is something here for everyone, or almost everyone. The first book is a book that I read this year and that I've been talking about quite a lot, and I actually have been seeing more people on social media reading it, or at least hauling it or talking about it, and I am so happy about that. But I feel like everyone needs to read this book, especially if you like romance and you're maybe intimidated to read classics. This is a classic, but all that means is that it's old. It is still such a fantastic, approachable romance, and that is The Blue Castle by Ella Montgomery. If you recognize her name, that is because she wrote the Anne of Green Gables series, which is so fantastic. If you liked the TV show of Anne with an E, of course read the Anne of Green Gables books, but this book is so fantastic because it is a standalone and it's following an adult main character, which a lot of Ella Montgomery's books are following younger characters. So this is set in Canada, of course, because Ella Montgomery was a wonderful Canadian author, and the way she writes about Canada is so beautiful. She does such an incredible job placing you really into the setting of the story, and we are following a main character named Valency Sterling, and she is treated quite terribly by her family. She doesn't have very many friends. At the beginning of the novel, she's quite meek and she kind of lets everyone step all over her. She's never had a boyfriend, and she is really just tired of this place that she's in her life, and she's tired of everyone stepping all over her, and she's tired of not living. Something very life-changing happens to her, and it really makes her reevaluate her life, and she ends up just completely turning her life around and kind of going against the grain and surprising and shocking her family. She's so vocal and witty and clever, and this book made me laugh out loud so many times, like genuinely laugh out loud, and not a lot of books do that, but oh my gosh, just the way that you watch this character of Valency completely turn her life around and create something for herself. It's amazing, it's wonderful, and I think it should be read by more people. And I feel like this would be a really great introduction to classics. I feel like it deserves a place on the tables in the bookstores that are for TikTok books. It is just such a fantastic story, and one of my very, 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 very favorite books that I've read so far in 2025. I know a very popular type of book lately has been weird fiction or unhinged writing, unhinged stories, and I feel like this is one of the most unhinged, batshit crazy books I've ever read, and I feel like it does deserve to be on the TikTok tables in the bookshops, and I think so many more people who love weird, wacky fiction need to read this book, and that is The Heart of a Dog by Mikhail Bulgakov. This is a Russian classic, but don't let that intimidate you because number 1, it is very short, and number 2, it is so approachable and crazy, and it's such a page turner. You will read this so quickly. I am not a huge fan of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, although I do have to reread it because it's been many years since I first read it. But when I first read Frankenstein, it just wasn't what I was expecting, and I always compare this to be my ideal Frankenstein. It's short, it's gripping, and it's just a wild ride from the very first page. This story follows a professor and a doctor who take the testicles and pituitary gland of a dog and places them into a recently deceased man. And this experiment creates this dog-man hybrid that just completely wreaks havoc. And it is the most incredibly crazy, wacky thrilling story, and I feel like if you love weird fiction, if you love unhinged characters, this is for you. I know that White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky became kind of a TikTok book, and that was very popular, and that is a shorter Russian novella, just like this one, and I love White Nights. It's one of my favorite Dostoevsky stories, and I read it quite a few years ago now, and I was so happy to see that more people, more everyday people that didn't read classics or Russian literature were reading White Nights. It made me so happy. And I feel like I really want that to happen with this book. I feel like this is the next White Nights, but it's very, very different from White Nights. White Nights is a beautiful, devastating, unrequited love story. And this is just weird, unhinged fiction about a Frankenstein-type dog man character that's just ruining people's lives, but in the best way, and I just think it's brilliant. The next book I know many people love, but I again think that it deserves a wider audience. I also think it deserves a wider adult audience, and that is Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This also has one of the most incredible movie adaptations. It is a cinematic masterpiece, and if you love Gilmore Girls, Alexis Bledel, who plays Rory, plays the main character of Winnie Foster in the Tuck Everlasting movie adaptation. I highly recommend you read the book first before watching the movie, but I cannot recommend the book and the movie enough. This book is so meaningful. It is why I love middle grade fiction so much, because middle grade fiction, I think, is just the perfect genre. These stories are ageless. You can be any age and read these stories and get so much out of them, because the writers that are writing these stories know that they are informing these young readers. They are creating and influencing how they perceive the world around them and how they will grow into the people that they will become. The books that we read at a young age form us into the people that we grow into being. And so the role of a middle grade writer, I think, is so incredibly important and so essential to development. But anyway, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about middle grade. I also am writing a middle grade story right now, so that's part of the reason. Tuck Everlasting is one of the most impactful stories I've ever read. It touches on topics of love, death, life, what you do with the time that you have, the effect that you have on the people around you, the sacrifice of having a mortal existence, and it is just one of the most impactful stories I've ever read, and I really think that so many more adults need to read this. I just want to shove middle grade books into adult readers' hands and say, read this. It doesn't matter what part of the bookstore it came from. What matters is the story and how it will affect you. And this, I think, is truly a life-changing story and a life-changing book that, for me, is required reading for everybody. Okay. This next book, I want you to hear me out, I want you to pay attention, and I want you to stay engaged with me. All right? Can you do that? The next book is The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore by William Joyce. Yes, it is a children's picture book, and I do think it deserves to be trending. And let me tell you why. This book is a book for book lovers. If you love books, you will love this book. No matter if you are a child or a teenager or a young adult or an adult or a much more mature adult, it's a book about the influence books have on us, and it is one of the most beautifully illustrated books I have ever laid my eyes on. And mainly, I want to see a children's book trending. I want it to happen. So this is my attempt to help a children's book, especially this one, be trending. There are so many children's books that I love. I am an illustrator and a writer, so I am so passionate about children's book illustration and middle grade writing and children's writing. These stories are so impactful, they're so beautiful, and they are works of art. And they are written and drawn and created by adults, not only for children, but for the children that they used to be and the children that we used to be. Just because we are no longer children doesn't mean we shouldn't be reading children's stories anymore. This book will potentially make you cry, I don't want to say too much about it because obviously it is short. This is just one of the most stunning books that I have in my collection, and I don't have anything else to say about it. Please read it. Please give yourself the chance to fall in love with a children's book, and this one I highly recommend. The last book that I think should be trending and has the potential to be trending on social media is 84 Chairing Crossroad by Helen Hanff. This is a nonfiction book, and it is required reading for every single book lover. Do you love books? Then you need to read this book. I think every human, not only if they love books, but just every human on the planet needs to read this book because it is a gorgeous, beautiful, heartfelt, nonfiction, true account of this writer from New York named Helen Hanff. She is contacting a secondhand bookshop in London at 84 Charing Cross Road, which is the address of the bookshop. She is contacting the booksellers that work there, inquiring about different books that she is looking for because she can't find these specific copies that she wants in the US because the US editions aren't as nice as the UK editions. It turns into this beautiful correspondence between her and the booksellers, specifically this one bookseller, Frank Dole. It's this beautiful friendship through letters between this writer from New York and these booksellers in England. And the fact that it's a true story is unbelievably beautiful and gives me hope in humanity, and I think that more of us need to read this and maybe be encouraged to start writing letters to each other again, because as much as texting is very wonderful and convenient and easy, there is nothing like receiving a handwritten letter. But I love 84 Charing Cross Road. You need to read this book if you haven't, and I need to watch the movie. You also need to watch the movie too, because I have just heard amazing things about it, and I haven't watched it yet. I know I need to, and I am really looking forward to it. So, these are the 5 books that I think should be trending. There are so many other books that I also think should be trending, but I really tried to pick 5 very different books for very different types of readers to hopefully spark something in you. So I would love it if you picked one of these up if you haven't yet. If you have, what do you think about these books? Do you also agree that they deserve to be trending? And what books do you think should be trending? What books would you want to see on the TikTok recommends section in your bookshop? I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you are having such a wonderful day reading some amazing books. I will see you very soon in another video, and as always, happy reading.